Hello everybody, I'm Roland from V4IT and we are the makers of the Aveedo business application platform. I'm super excited to have this opportunity to show you our Aveedo platform today in more detail, and what we are going to do today is I'm going to first give you a quick overview of what Aveedo actually is and how it works. Then we are going to see it live and in action, modernizing two Notes client applications from the Notes client to the web, enhancing the UI, using the Aveedo designer to do all sorts of cool things with these applications. And then we will move on and I will show you a couple of more really cool features and possibilities which are each unlocked once you have transformed your applications with Aveedo. And last but not least, we are going to take a look at how much effort it usually takes to modernize applications with Aveedo and what the next steps might possibly be. So let's kick this off and let's jump straight into the Aveedo business application platform. So Aveedo is not only a complete and modern business application platform, it's also the fastest way to move Notes client applications to the web. So in the past, the Lotus Notes rapid application development platform was a really cool and powerful tool to develop business applications, and actually many large corporations use that and have developed many business critical applications which still run today, which is quite amazing actually, and it really speaks for Domino being such a reliable, secure and stable platform. The problem though, which a lot of companies are facing today, is that when you open these business applications inside your Notes client today, it feels a little bit like this, right? And this, it's not only a feeling, it does not only feel like from 10 years ago or something. It's also that your employees today want to be able to use these applications on their mobile phones, on their tablets, they want to use them in the web browser. And if you want to upgrade your mail client experience to something cool like IBM Verse, for example, or move to the cloud, or do bring all of your applications, your communication, all your collaboration tools to the cognitive world, that's very hard to do with just the Notes client at hand. So this is where Aveedo comes in, and we move the working environment of your employees to this, where they can still continue to use these business critical applications, but in a much more modern and user-friendly environment that works out of the box on all web browsers, which is responsive out of the box. They can use it on any screen sizes, and of course it's compatible and completely seamlessly integratable with like IBM Verse and cognitive services, Watson Workspace, and you're going to see some of that a little bit later in this video. So this is what our aim actually is. This is what we are set out to do, and how we do it is this. So in the first step, Aveedo analyzes your existing application environment, and the result of this analysis is a really good degree of insight of how many views and forms and lists and lines of codes and backend agents and DLL calls and whatever are inside your application. And together with that, we give you a rough estimate of how much time and effort it would actually take to modernize these applications with the Aveedo platform. Then the actual transformation is done by our Aveedo Wizard module, which you are going to see in action in just a minute. So during this transformation, what Aveedo does is we really automatically translate the existing user interface to a web UI. So it's really a one-to-one migration of the existing user interface. It's automatically created, so you do not need to recreate the user interface. That's done automatically. We also automatically translate all the add formulas, which may be hidden somewhere in these applications. And we have a couple of very smart methods to also translate the business logic in these applications and make them available in Aveedo. Once your applications are inside of Aveedo, it's really easy to enhance and maintain them, and also to build new applications And our approach here is we have a really powerful backend editor that you can use to basically configure applications rather than having to code everything yourself. Of course, you're free to code if you want to. You have all degrees of flexibility there as well. But we just make many standard things a lot easier for you, and you're going to see what that means also in our live demonstration. The best part of Aveedo, of course, is once your applications are on the Aveedo platform, then you are really free to choose where you want to take your working environment to. So if you want to move to the cloud, for example, and use Verse as a cloud mail service and as your web browser, that's perfectly possible with Aveedo. But you could as well stay with your Domino on-premises application and email environment, and that would also work, as well as hybrid scenarios. So that's all not a problem. And in any of these scenarios, all your existing security and rights management and read and write and authoring fields rights are going to be preserved. So we're not going to touch that. This is all going to continue at the same security level that you already have now. And if you compare that to any other solution, I think that's a very important point to to stress. So what happens under the hood when we modernize applications with Aveedo is this. We actually take the layout and the business logic, which in the old Nodes client applications are in the same file, in the NSF file, together with the actual application data. We separate the layout and the business logic from the application data, and we translate the layout to a new Aveedo configuration, and we translate the business logic and store that inside of Aveedo. But the actual application data stays where it is, just right where it is, inside the same physical .nsf file, and it's just called by our Aveedo application. Aveedo itself is actually a Domino application. So we use the Domino server as the application server, which in our opinion is a very good and smart choice because it's so secure, so stable, so reliable, and it also allows us to keep all the security settings and features that you may have alive without even having to worry about it. There are other options as well, but we think this is the best solution so far that we have come up with. And also, you know, by separating the data layer from the layout and business logic layer, we give you the flexibility to plug in all sorts of external services into your existing data. So you can also use Aveedo as a kind of a middleware, so that you can connect it with our flexible REST service. It's a two-way REST service with read, write, and all operations that you can use with Aveedo to interact with other systems and your existing data. The new Aveedo interfaces, which are automatically generated by our migration wizard, run on any device. They are out of the box responsive and very easy to modify and enhance. And without further delay, I'd say let's just take a look at how it works and how you can actually use Aveedo to modernize applications. So let's jump straight over to the demo part of this. All right, so here is our good old Nodes client, and inside of it we have two simple applications. This one is an address book where you can add new persons. There's just one view. If you open a document, you can see we have a tab navigation here. We have save and edit action buttons. We have a date picker. And all of that is going to be reproduced automatically by Aveedo. The same goes for our fleet management application. We have two different views here in this application. An action button for a new car, and inside the documents, again, save and edit action buttons, date picker, fields, and a couple of other stuff is going on as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to modernize these two Nodes client applications. We are going to make them available on the web, give them a nice modern web UI. So we're going to change and enhance that existing UI. What we're also going to do is we're going to connect these two separate databases so that there are direct relations between people and cars, which actually makes a lot of sense in my point of view. And then we are also going to use Watson Tone Analyzer to analyze the About Me fields which are inside the address book. And all of this should not take more than a couple of minutes, so you're not going to be stuck for a couple of hours here watching me going crazy with clicking and coding something up. So we will have enough time to also move on to a couple of other interesting points. So let's do this. Let's fire up Aveedo. Where is it? Here it is. Here's our V4IT Aveedo platform login screen, and I'm going to log on to that one. And as you see here, it's empty, which makes a lot of sense because we didn't do anything, right? So this is the user interface of the Aveedo platform. You can design that in any way you want. We like a clean design for our demos, so it's mostly white and it's empty because we haven't done anything yet. So let's get our two Nodes client applications inside of Aveedo. For that purpose, I need to open the Aveedo Designer, which is our backend editor for the applications. Inside of our designer, I have a toolbox, among others, and inside this toolbox, I have a migration wizard. And this migration wizard now offers me two different ways to migrate existing Nodes client applications and modernize them, move them to the web. The first way is a single database and selected elements. So I can actually, during the migration process, I could select which forms, which layouts, which views, which actions I want to import. Maybe for, especially for larger applications and more complex applications, grown applications that have grown over the years, maybe you do not need everything that is in them. So you can use this as a chance to actually streamline your application a little bit. And then you do not need also to take everything with you, So what we are going to do today, though, is we are going to choose this second option, and that is really the one-to-one migration. That's the perfect fit for simple, easy applications like the ones that we just saw in the Nodes client. So all I need to do here in this case is select a single database, all forms and views, and then I just have to choose that database. That's actually maybe the hardest part for this migration because my folder structure needs to be cleaned up, but here we go. Let's do the address book first. I select OK, and then really all I have to do is select next step here and click finish. And what happens now is Aveedo is automatically translating the UI, creating new views and layouts, and that only took a couple of seconds. And you can see now the address book is listed as an application within my Aveedo instance. In order to show you what that means, I'm going to show you how the application looks in the front end in a second. Before we do that, I'm just going to give it last final touch here, just add a description and change the icon. Of course, Aveedo cannot know. It's not, maybe you should teach Watson to suggest an icon here. For an address book, you would suggest maybe a phone. That makes a lot of sense. And then you have to select with which view this application should start up when you start it. So once I save that, I can close it. And then we go back to our formerly empty Aveedo instance. And when I reload that one now, here we go, that's our address book. And let's see if we also have data in there, because as I told you, we are just translating the layout and the data stays where it is. So that wasn't touched, and I can just access this now with this new web user interface. And also, sorry if I go back here, you can see the action buttons. The actions have been preserved as well for the document views. And if I switch to the edit mode, you can also see that also stuff like the date pickers have been correctly recognized by Aveedo and reproduced correctly. So that was pretty quick and pretty cool. And I tell you what, I can do it even quicker because now for the second application for the fleet management, you already know how it works, so you will be able to follow along even if I do it a little bit quicker. So I just need to select the database that I want to modernize, which is the fleet management in this case. Click on next step, and then click on finish. And now Aveedo is working for me. I like that. And it's done. So now we have both applications inside of Aveedo. And for the fleet management, I'm going to also give that a final touch here. Add a description. Cool cars in this case. Oh, dual cars, that doesn't make sense. Cool cars. And then we change the icon to a car icon. That makes sense. And the start page. And here you can already see these two views have been added. These are the two views that were also available inside of the Notes client. So I can just choose one of them to be the start view. And I choose that to be cars by name. Save that. Close it. So let's go back to our Aveedo instance, reload it, and now I have both applications inside my Aveedo platform. And the car, for the cars as well, you know, the action buttons have been reproduced. You can even see here, Aveedo does a couple of other smart things that I'm going to explain to you in a different video, different time. There are many nice features that Aveedo delivers out of the box. You don't have to take care of that. So let's take a look at the document itself. That also works, and the license dates have also, leasing dates have also been correctly reproduced. So that was quite nice, and that was quite quick. So let's move on to the next point. All right, so the next thing that I would like to show you is how easy it is to actually change the layout and the design of an application. So what we are going to do is, if you take a look at this address person view, there's a lot of unused white space here. I mean, I like white space, but that's a little bit too much of it. So let's change that, and let's take a look at how layouts actually look inside of Aveedo. For that purpose, inside of the designer, I click on document layouts and then on address person, which is the view that I want to change. And here you see the backend view of that application interface. You can see the tab container here, the general tab with a couple of fields, and the details tab. Let's go back just quickly. You can see here the general tab and the details tab. The general tab is the one that we are going to split into two columns, and it's just going to take maybe a minute. All right, so let's do this. So the first thing I need to do is I need to restyle this panel here inside the general tab to a 2-column layout. Just apply that change, and now you can already see how that was cut in half. Then I just drag and drop a new panel from the element bar on the left hand side, and that panel of course by default is full screen, but once I change that to have a 2-column layout as well, then I already have my 2 panels next to each other. And now what I can do is I can just drag and drop fields of the application from one panel to another. How cool is that? You can also, you know, I could drag this anywhere really. So, but now I'm just going to drag and drop that to that second panel. I have the same number of fields there, so it's kind of symmetric. And I'm already done. I think that was less than a minute to make that layout change. Let's go back to the application and reload it. And there you go. Here now I have a 2-column layout. Of course, this is still responsive, right? But I'm going to show you in a minute with a little bit of more content how this user interface actually reacts to smaller screen sizes, and how it handles even smartphones out of the box without you having to configure anything. Good. So that was the first thing, changing the layout. The second thing would be adding new fields. So the first thing that I would like to add is a new field for my Twitter handle. So let's drag and drop a new field here, and this field has the title Twitter, and the field name is also Twitter. That makes sense. It's just a text field, So I'm already done now. This field is now available. We will take a look at it in a second. I'm also going to drag another new field here, and that one is for the relation to the car database that I was mentioning earlier. So what I'm going to try to do here is actually insert a car field into my address book view, where I want to display and directly link to my company cars that I have in that other Notes application that we just modernized. So in this case, the field type is not just a text field, but it's an object relation. And once I select that, Aveedo offers me all the objects it currently knows. And as we have migrated the car database, it knows there are car objects. And I can select here what kind of information from this document I want to display. And in this case, I think it makes sense to display the license plate. That makes a lot of sense. Oh yeah, and when I want to select a car for a person, I need to specify a view so that Aveedo knows which view to show me when I select a car, so when I establish that relation from a person to a car. And I want that to be displayed not as text only, but as a navigational link. And once I apply that, we should be ready to take a look at it. So let's reload our application here. We put this in the details tab. So here you see now we have a car field and a Twitter field, and they look pretty empty. Let's edit them, put something in there. So for the car field, I can now, this is the view I just specified, right? This is the view you have to choose. I can now select a nice car for myself. That one's reserved. And I can also input my Twitter handle like that and save it. And now see, I'm going to close the edit mode so that you can see it in a regular layout. Right. So now you can see here's my car. It has a direct link to that actual car, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. So we just added a Twitter field. That's nice to know. It's nice to know that Twitter handle, but wouldn't it be much nicer to actually display the Twitter stream below here? And since it's an address book, it has addresses in there, wouldn't it be nice to also display a Google Maps displaying that location right here? So let's go and do that. And that's also really done in just a matter of minutes. And it's going to give you a good impression of how flexible Aveedo actually is, because for this purpose we are going to use our custom content field type, and that custom content field type really does mean custom. You can drag and drop that anywhere, and I'm going to drop that just down here. Custom content really means, of course, you can style that container, right? I'm going to give it a 2-column layout. And then I can just open a script editor. And inside of this script editor, you can basically put your own HTML or client-side JavaScript. You can even use server-side JavaScript in order to display everything that you would like to display inside that box. So I have, let's open the script editor here. I have prepared a little script to display the Twitter stream. And what is really interesting here is it tells you a lot about how Aveedo actually works, how the Aveedo API works inside. Everywhere where it says API.some method, that's the Aveedo API, and this little JavaScript snippet basically gets the field value in a string format of the field with the name Twitter, right? That's the one that we just created, and then it just displays the Twitter timeline for that Twitter handle. So that's the Twitter handle that we call here. Let's close that. Let's apply it. So that should already work now. Let's take a look just to be sure. Here we go. Pretty awesome. There's my Twitter stream displayed below, and in that empty space over here on the right hand side, let's put the Google Maps for this location over here. So we will need to call the Aveedo API to give Google the values of these fields, right? So that it can display this Google Maps location. All right, so what we need is another custom content field type here. Just drag and drop it over here. And give it, I was already selected, give it a 2-column layout, and then just jump to the script editor. Again, here, you don't want to see me live coding this. Let's waste no time. I've prepared that. It's a standard script for displaying Google Maps locations. And here is the interesting part. Here is where we get the values of our location and street fields, pass that on to Google, and then once we save that and apply it, it's done. So let's reload that, and there we go. And I promised you I would also show you how this application behaves on a small screen. So let's do that. And as you can see, it automatically reorganizes itself. You have the Google Maps location, you have the Twitter field, you have the 2 panels from the general tab, and that works quite nice. Right. All right, so before we move on to a more general overview of some of the features that Aveedo additionally offers, let's do another cool thing here, and that is our standard out-of-the-box Watson integration. So you can just plug in Watson into your Notes client applications once you modernize them with Aveedo. So that is as easy as drag and drop as well. So I just, if I want, for example, to analyze the About Me text with the Watson tone analyzer, I can just drag and drop a new field here to display the result of that tone analyzer. And then in the second step, we are going to create the action button that triggers that. So the title is here going to be Tone Analyzer, and the field name Tone Analyze as well. And that's a Watson service field type. So you can see we have a native Watson service field type, and you can select from different Watson services, and we are virtually adding new Watson services every day. Not every day, every sprint. So every 2 weeks or so. But it's a pretty exciting development, and lots of fun to play with that and see how useful it actually is in real life applications. All right, so let's build that action button. Above here, I can create new actions that are going to be displayed in the navigation panel above my application. So this will be the Tone Analyze About Me button. Pretty long title, but it tells you exactly what it will do, right? And this will trigger a script, but in this case you do not need to write it on your own, but it's natively available inside of Watson, and we want to do a full refresh each time that button is fired. So let's go back to the document layout here, and our tone analyzer field, maybe we should put it in a separate panel so it looks nicer. I will do that in a second. I'm just going to make sure this object has all the right options ticked. Yes, that looks all good. So we did not miss anything here. So the About Me field is the one that's going to be analyzed. You can select the kind of language. You can detect it automatically, but it works a lot better, smoother if you just select the input language that you expect. We also have the Watson translation services, by the way, available also as a standard service here. I think it's going to make to look nicer if I put it into a separate panel, so that the tone analyzer result is going to be displayed in its own panel here. I just drag and drop that, and I think we are ready right now to run this baby. So let's take a look. I'm just going to reload that. Oh, by the way, we have a cool feature here as well, which is the clear cache button. So you can just clear all caches there and don't have no issues. All right, so let's reload that view, and as you can see now in the details tab, we have the Watson tone analyzer and Watson likes what I wrote. That makes me happy as well, and I'm really feeling it. And you could of course go and edit that and have a different result. So I'm going to try that. Maybe say I hate my job, which is of course not true. But once I save that, I just go back to the standard view again, so you can see what's happening here. Of course, I have to trigger Watson once again by hitting that button, and then it should come back with a different result. And you can see here, I hate my job. There's not a lot of joy in that, sadness and anger, and I'm going to change that back quickly because it's not what I'm feeling. No, I love my job. All right, great. So that was that. The tone analyzer works great, and there are really a lot of possibilities and options you have inside of Aveedo to come up, to plug in Watson services into your data, right? Once it is modernized with Aveedo. So that's one, I like that better. So let's close that and let's move on to the next point. All right, so you have already seen that the Aveedo user interface is designed to be responsive and you can use it on any screen size, but we also have a native app for that. So the Aveedo application for iOS and for Android allows you to also access your applications on the go and also with an offline mode. So that offline mode basically synchronizes selected databases and documents that you can configure manually inside the application and choose inside of the application, and synchronizes that to your device so that you can also use them in offline environments without any internet connection. And this is actually pretty handy because these applications do not only work on iOS and Android, but also on PC desktop and on a Mac as well. So you can use this offline feature also for PC and Mac. As you can see here, this is our little demo environment. These are the two Notes applications that we just migrated. And just to demonstrate that to you, if I go to the person view here in the details, you can see that's the car field we added, and here's the relation to that car, and I can just switch to that car document view. How good is that inside the application? So that's a pretty cool feature that we also have a native application here with an offline mode that you can switch to. Great. So let's close this application and let's move on to a couple of more advanced features that Aveedo offers you to basically really get the most out of the data in your existing databases, right? So one thing that Aveedo is really strong in is data visualization. So whatever kind of data you have inside your Domino application databases, you can in a very easy way display that data graphically, visually. For example, here we have a project timeline that you can zoom in and zoom out on. You can display you can display different kinds of informations. You can of course configure that for each of these projects by just clicking on them, and you can just jump into any deeper level here on the right hand side. You can also configure all kinds of different visualizations and graphs to display, you know, any kind of column and data you really have. So whatever kind of numbers you want to display, you can use all these standard data visualization tools without having to code them. So you can just configure them, and you can greatly visualize your data. That holds also true, for example, for activities and tasks. So with our Scrum board feature, you can just configure our Scrum board to display any kind of activities, tasks, whatever. You just need to say this data field should be the swim lanes, right? And then you can just drag and drop the status of this field by dragging and dropping your documents from inside your application between these swim lanes. We use this a lot in our own project management, and also we use a lot of Kanban in our sales team as well. So that's pretty cool. Excuse me. Speaking of processes, a very strong feature of Aveedo is the workflow engine that we have here. So it's really easy to design your own workflows here, and you can just basically drag and drop complicated workflows and configure them, and then apply these workflows to your applications. Here's a little bit someone who knows a little bit better than I do how to design and configure workflows has done something nicely here. A process to create a new user between HR and IT, and these kinds of workflows can then be applied to your applications. And we also use this great workflow modeling engine to replace many workflows that are inside your Notes client applications that have been coded in Lotus script. So we've had many examples where there were like 3,000 lines of code hidden somewhere in an application, basically just trying to describe quite straightforward workflow, and we were able to replace that code with just a simple graphic workflow like this in like no time really. And by that, not only preserving the business logic that was hidden in these 3,000 lines of code, but also to a great degree enhancing and improving the ability to maintain that workflow and that business logic, right? To make changes to that and to understand what it's doing, because now it's so nice and easy and graphically displayed as a workflow inside our workflow modeler. So that's really cool as well. All right, so just a couple of more things that I would like to show you before we come to the end of this Aveedo platform deep dive. So at the end of each process, hopefully you will be able to make an offer, write an invoice, do that kind of thing. And for that, you will need to basically come up with a Word or PDF or a spreadsheet that you want to put your data into. And that's also possible with our Aveedo Office integration that also comes natively with the Aveedo application. So if, for example, here this is an offer template, right, from our CRM system, you can drag and drop order positions, offer positions to this offer. You can configure the text that you want to display, and then you can just go ahead and send this as an email as a PDF attachment, or download a Word document. And here it is, the Word document. I'm just going to show it to you. Of course, you would need to design your own template for that and configure which data field should go where. And then you can select which kind of template you would like to use, and just push that button and you get your Office document. As I said, this works for Excel spreadsheets as well as for Microsoft Word, and also for PDF files, and you can automatically send them somewhere or process them somewhere as well. So that's a very handy feature as well. We're now coming to our REST APIs and ways to plug in external services into your existing Nodes client applications, into your existing Domino applications. You don't need the Nodes client anymore after you have modernized your applications with Aveedo, but Domino, of course, is at the core of everything we do here. And we have demoed at Connect 2017 in San Francisco how we plugged in Watson Discovery as a cognitive search engine into Aveedo, so that you can use Watson Discovery to really take a look at everything that is in your databases. We demoed that for a use case where we wanted to find out which of the cars in our databases have a damage. And if you would try to do that with a keyword search, that would certainly be quite difficult, because what would be the keywords that you'd be looking for? As you can see here, cars have scratches, things are broken, but cars also have no scratches or anything. So a keyword search would not help. So we trained Watson to understand the concept of cars and parts of a cars having a damage. So when I search for has damage here in my car database, it gives me back 6 cars that have a damage, and I happen to know that that's the correct number. So that's a pretty fascinating project. And if you just think about what you could do, if you could just plug Watson Discovery into all of your Domino applications, and that's exactly what you can do with Aveedo, and I think that's pretty exciting. On the other hand, if you do not want to use Aveedo as an interface, you could also use like Slack or Watson Workspace as a user interface for your Domino applications that are modernized with Aveedo. So for example, I can type in here, hi Aveedo, I'm a nice guy, I say hi before I ask people for something, and Aveedo says hi Roland Becker. So I want to get some data from my company database, so I type in !company, and then I type the name of the company that I want to know about, for example the company Wolf. So let's see if Aveedo knows that company. Yes, it knows it, and it knows the following persons: Günther Wolf, oh that's probably the boss, and Sarah Vollmer. Yeah, I want to speak to Sarah, so I need her phone number. So I can ask Aveedo about, tell me everything about Sarah that you know, Sarah Vollmer. So tell me about Sarah Vollmer, and there we go. Aveedo tells me her phone number, email address, and there's also a link to that person document. That's super cool. Thank you, Aveedo. And so that's one way how you can use external services as a user interface for your applications. You can configure all that very easily inside of Aveedo with little scripts. So you can of course customize all these commands and what they should answer back. It's a lot of fun and very handy, so you don't have to disrupt the work you're in, and you can stay in the tool that you're using. You don't have to switch back and forth between different tools. So that's also a very handy option that you have here to interact with your data once it's modernized with Aveedo. All right, so I think we have seen enough so far of what Aveedo is capable of, and I would be hoping that by now you'd be pretty convinced that Aveedo is a really awesome solution. Not only a very cool solution to modernize Nodes client application, but also just, as a modern, complete business application platform. It's a very sustainable and future-proof solution, and it's really something that you can bet on for the next decade or more. So how does it compare to other solutions? Let's take a look here and go back to our presentation. Right, and there we go. So the main point about Aveedo is it's a complete business application platform, and yet if you compare the migration effort with everything else, Aveedo saves you at least 70% of the time and money, which is usually needed to really modernize your applications in a sustainable way, because that would usually mean refactoring, right? So you could do X pages, you can do .NET or Java development, and you would basically have to recreate the complete user interface, the complete business logic, and set up your own systems. And Aveedo saves a lot of time because you have that automatic UI transformation that we have seen in this presentation. So that saves you a lot of work on the front end side, especially if you think about clients who have like not 2 or 3 applications, but like 2,000 or 3,000 applications. And some of our clients even have more than that. So the automatic UI transformation saves a lot of work. You have seen how easy it is then to actually enhance and change these UIs, so should you want to do that for select applications. What we also do automatically, and that also saves a lot of work, is the automatic translation of add formulas, right? So the add formula language is also being automatically translated. The logic behind that is automatically reproduced by Aveedo. For LotusScript business logic, we have a couple of smart concepts of how to recreate that logic inside of Aveedo. We have seen tools like the workflow modeler in our live demo that is a great tool to not only translate business logic, but also to basically put it to a whole new level of being able to maintain that business logic, visualize it, and actually also evolve that over time, right? So the workflow modeler is a very powerful tool to save you a lot of work while recreating the business logic. And also for smaller scripts, we have a very handy side-by-side script editor that where we actually import the existing LotusScript code, and then you have a side-by-side script editor where you can just translate that into JavaScript. Inside of Aveedo, all of the logic is done in JavaScript. Aveedo itself has been coded in Java. That's just as a side note to that. All right, so if you want to find out more about Aveedo, or if you want to request a demo, or if you want to go ahead and use our Scanalizer tool and scan some of your applications to find out how much work and effort it would actually be to modernize these applications with Aveedo, please go to our website, aveedo.com. You will find all that information there. All right, so I hope that this introduction to Aveedo, well, it was more kind of a deep dive. If you stayed with me until this point, was entertaining for you, and I hope you find it very informative, and it helped you to assess the opportunity that Aveedo actually presents to everyone who is running Nodes client applications today. And we would surely love to hear from you and get your feedback and get your questions. Please do not hesitate to contact us. You can also find our contact information on our aveedo.com website, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, and bye-bye. Take care.